Good morning, children.
In the old-fashioned view of education, knowledge was taken out of books and transferred, often painfully, to the memory. But books are only one among many sources of knowledge.
You know, for most of the last century, we were struggling to make technology do what we wanted in terms of learning. Now it's so good it can do anything we want, and the real question is, what do we want to do?
I'm always researching on the internet and my opponents, or my future opponents.
I usually use MySpace for networking with other drummers.
I can also contact other researchers anywhere in the world by email or by Skype.
I tend to use video analysis a lot.
We're in a world now that's peer-to-peer, that's viral, that's agile, where symmetry is the key word, where people exchange and swap their work and their learning. What technology allows us to do is to swap that learning all around the world.
Every child must be given the chance to develop his talent and abilities to the maximum.
So there's a huge mismatch between what we think learning used to be in schools and what we know successful learning is going to generate in terms of ingenious, collaborative, gregarious, creative people.
If you're held too tightly in school, when you're let go of, all you do is relax. You haven't learnt to stand alone. And so part of the job of learning is to learn how to continue to learn.
Look, technology allows us to take risks with our learning. We need that ability to learn from failure.
If you tell me that I can't do something, then I've got to get up and prove you wrong.
I learn a lot more from losing than I do from winning. It stops you from being complacent in the gym. You realise that you really have to work hard to achieve your dreams and your goals.
Young people now have a much, much earlier idea about what they want to do and how they want to do it.
The people that are the most passionate about what they do never ever stop learning.
Have been doing heart surgery for the last 45 years and I'm still learning.
Personalised learning for me was going with what I loved at the beginning, which was sport and cycling.
If you choose something you want to do, then you go with it with much more passion, with much more drive.
The idea is to encourage them in the things they can do, not handicap them for the things they can't.
The metrics we have to measure performance are going to be subtle, they're going to be varied, they're going to be different, they're going to be personalised. What technology allows us to do is weigh those measures of success against each other so we can see how we're doing and be ambitious for ourselves. The one thing we can be certain about is that you can't build one solution that fits all. You know, to properly deliver on those multiple variables, you need real complexity, and the only way we're going to get that real complexity is by harnessing the power and opportunity that technology has brought us. This isn't the information age, it's the learning age. The quicker people get their heads around that, the better.
Our goal when we started this school essentially was to try to create a place where when you walked into it, you couldn't tell whether it was a technical school or a college prep school. There are three axioms of public education in this country, particularly in high schools, and they are that you separate students from each other based on their perceived academic ability. You separate hands from minds, and you separate school from the world beyond. And we try to integrate those three things. We integrate students, we integrate the subjects, particularly technical and academic pursuits, and we try to integrate with the world beyond school as well.
This thing doesn't line up.
It takes about 6 weeks to build the robot. We don't just build the robot, we also compete as far as competition goes. Everything that we do, we put it all into a document and we stand in front of the judges and say, look at us, this is what we do, this is, you know, these are our achievements, and we kind of like try and say, you know, like we're the best, and this is, we want you to recognize that. We've had a 1,000% increase in girls this year, which was really cool. It's a really enjoyable thing, and it's great because it involves us in the community as well.
These 21st century skills, these kind of employability skills, were really college prep skills as well. If we were able to pull together a program where we were asking kids to work in teams, to ask good questions, consider multiple perspectives in the work that they're doing, ask how things are connected, take big picture views and so forth, that we would be preparing them both for college and for careers.
If you want it wider, you divide X by, so like 10.
Ooh, that's perfect.
I found this image by Basquiat that I really liked, so then I kind of broke it down into all possible math, which I pretty much just isolated parabolas and cylinders. So then I wrote like a page of notes about it and then projected it on and made 2 different compositions of my notes and then made the background. So I'm trying to emulate Basquiat, but also incorporating a bunch of math.
Collaboration is a big key element to a successful project, in my opinion. I think they're going to get a deeper, more meaningful understanding of the subject as a whole, as opposed to one tiny piece of it. And so it's really neat that I can go to any of these kids and talk about ancient Egyptian engineering. I could talk to them about their daily life. I can talk to them about the architecture of pyramids and obelisks, and talk about volume and surface area, and talk about gods and goddesses, and every single one of them would know all about it.
Standing on it. Yeah, it'll work once we have our turning group.
A lot of it is about building a common culture of learning and questioning and feeling comfortable kind of articulating your observations and analysis. It just blows me away every day to see the kinds of interactions that you see between adults and kids here. You see very little behavior management going on the part of adults. It's all conversation about what happened last week, or about this assignment, or about the project we're doing. That's what's really distinctive about the place, as far as I'm concerned. It's the quality of relationships. It's really all about relationships, and the kind of interactions that you see amongst adults and kids here.
NBC Action News in a series called Education Nation. Tonight we take a look inside Blue Valley High School's Center for Advanced Professional Studies. It's called CAPS for short. The center gives students a hands-on opportunity to learn. The center works with 240 area businesses to offer Blue Valley juniors and seniors professional tools and facilities. Students can choose from dozens of industries, including medicine, business, even video game design.
CAPS is just really like a good opportunity to start doing things that we're actually going to be doing when we get older, outside of the regular high school curriculum. So you're not as much playing school anymore. You're actually starting to live what you're doing when you're going to get older.
Students report to CAPS 5 days a week.
Well, CAPS is different than from the comprehensive high school, and it gives students an opportunity to fast forward almost into their future and see what it would be like to be in that profession. And they are able to see that they have skills that they like to do this type of work.
I'm taking Bioscience Machinery of Life this semester, and next semester I'll be taking Bioscience Rhythms of Life. I thought that it'd be a really interesting idea to get a better understanding of biosciences, because I thought it would be something I'd possibly be interested in the future.
I wanted a more professional environment. Here at CAPS you do labs, you go on field trips, you actually learn stuff by doing it.
You know, it's much more hands-on learning and more specific. You aren't just sitting there reading it in a textbook.
Most of the time is based on what they choose, the idea that they get to choose their own projects in partnership with a business partner.
I think the creation of the CAPS program is truly entrepreneurial. It's what our businesses have been asking for many years.
I think that it will change traditional teaching, appealing to those students who really need a different type of approach to learn.
Because I like the more hands-on stuff. CAPS is definitely more hands-on. It's not sit there and get lectured all day. I think that's how most high school students are.
It's a lot different because they treat us more like we're actually in a business environment here.
I think you will see that this model of the way that we teach, the way that we're educating students, is going to be something that not only is powerful in this community, but can happen in any community across the nation.
When I first found out we were getting a brand new school, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know that I would be going here yet, but I knew that it was going to bring a lot of change. And when I first saw the new campus, I was so surprised about how nice it was.
It's awesome. It doesn't look like a school. It's very collegiate and, cool, new, really hip, and I love it.
When people walk into the building, they say things like, wow, what a great place to learn. I wish I had had that opportunity to go to a school like this. This really invites you in to be part of the learning process, and it's created a new way of being for Marysville.
We kicked off our process with a big community summit. We knew that we needed to engage the community widely and deeply, so we involved people from the city, students, parents, and we agreed early on about challenging one another's thinking and thinking differently.
We realized that instead of spaces so acutely focused on a particular curriculum, we could look at what's right for teaching and learning. And if you get what's right for teaching and learning, then whatever curriculum you use as a vehicle to get there will be just as effective.
And so through that process, we came up with our guiding principles.
So we came up with some spaces and crafted the spaces around the learning activities and the teaching activities, and then clustered those spaces in a way that would allow for transparency and fluidity between them.
We wanted every single space to be a learning space and or a gathering space, so there are no corridors. As soon as you step into the buildings, you see learning happening.
When you're in your own SLC, you have everything that you need right there. The way that it was open made it feel very united. You could look across the room and find your teacher that you needed to find, and you never felt alone.
Each of the learning communities have gathering areas where that entire school can get together as one group so that there is a fostering of community, and that spills outside. The focal point of this campus is the forest, and we went to great extremes in how we set the buildings to minimize the amount of grading so that we could actually save as much of the second growth forest on this site as possible.
Knowing that the building was made just for us really gave me that confidence to think, wow, people do care about our learning.
Although the building doesn't teach the kids, it's really heartwarming to see the way that the building supports that kind of work. It is creating those opportunities for greater partnership with the teachers in the process and greater opportunities for kids.
The most amazing thing about this project, I think, is the scope of transformation. To see where this district was and the school that these kids were coming from.
We went from a 50% graduation rate to a 57% graduation rate to a 77% graduation rate and an 89% extended graduation rate district-wide. The building itself was a part of that. The planning process and the guiding principles and the staff coming together all contributed.
My performance got way better once I switched to an SLC, and it definitely changed my path. And then you realize that I can do things I didn't know I could do before, and it was a lot different than any other school that I'd been to.
Probably the most important thing for kids growing up today is the love of embracing change. I mean, the catch for preparing students for the 21st century workforce is how do you get kids that have curiosity and a questioning disposition? We've called it in the past the gaming disposition. Is that if you look at the disposition of hardcore gamers, such as World of Warcraft, mouse and multiplayer games, the surprising things you find, contrary to what people think, is these kids, first of all, are incredibly bottom line oriented. They want to be measured because they want to see how much they're improving. And in fact, the most common mantra of a real gamer is if I ain't learning, it ain't fun.
I don't think any kid is born digitally native. I think kids are born consuming media, but I don't think kids are born producing media. So almost any kid that you look at and you say, oh wow, this is a great user of digital media, you can trace back. There's a parent, there's a program there's something that inspires them and develops them.
You know, part of the opportunity here is learning the content, which is very much the 20th century idea around education. But in the 21st century, it's learning the tools and the skills of remaking that content and becoming the creator and the producer.
We know that the learning outside of school matters tremendously for the learning in school. So a lot of what we're trying to say about kids' informal learning with new media is part of an already existing set of understandings that educators have of the importance of the home environment, for the peer environment, for the community, for learning that happens in schools. The question is, how can we be more active about linking those two together?
We find when we talk about 21st century skills, people often reduce them to skills for the workplace and skills involving technology. And we really are thinking about skills for creativity, for civic engagement, for social life, the full range of experiences that young people will be involved in the future.
We want kids behaving like an actress, behaving like a scientist, behaving like a documentary filmmaker, behaving like a journalist, not just studying it, but being like it. Because really, what is adolescence but trying on new roles and sampling new identities? So just giving them a chance to do that.